as we go along, Fermín.
Okay, we're on air.
We are now on air. I'll just give it a couple of seconds, just a couple, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to come in. So just give me a couple of seconds. So welcome everybody. Here we are back again for the exciting monthly webinar. I so enjoy this. I have conversations with some fabulous people, and today is no different. I'm going to be talking to the lovely Fermín. Now, do you know, I know as I get older, my memory is worse. I can't remember when we first met, but it's a long time ago when you were one of the directors in Tunstall Health, and with the amazing Paul Stobart.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how long ago it was, but you can, when I get you talking about your life, you can remind me. But it was some considerable time ago. And we won't talk about it all now, but because I'd spoil it all for everybody. But I do want to share with people that you trained as a trainer in English and then delivered in Spanish. And you were, I think, our only Spanish trainer in any company. And we contacted Fermín quite recently saying, oops, we've got a client who wants delivered in Spanish. And so that was interesting. So Fermín very rapidly, and I have to share this with you because it's really quite fun, because he hadn't run a program for at least 4 years. We don't then allow somebody just to run a program and assume they'll remember it. So we asked them to do a pilot. But who could we ask to get to do a pilot? Because obviously, so that we could observe it had to be in English again.
Yeah.
So who do we ask? And so one of our clients, the lovely, fairly new clients, Thames Water, we suggested that it would be really good if all the directors had their EAs go through the program. And so many people think EAs aren't important, and why would they need leadership? And it's such rubbish. They are so key to the success of their bosses. And luckily, in this particular company, the amazing Chris Weston has just been brave enough to take on that role. And Chris said, yes, of course they can. So Fermín came over to deliver the program to all these EAs. To say he was a hit would be the understatement of the year. They all fell in love with him, and it was amazing. So I don't want to share any more of that because I'm spoiling your story, Fermín, but I would like you to go back and tell us a little bit about, well, a lot about who you are, how your journey of leadership began, what it was that got you interested and, I believe, then inspired to begin to live it and breathe it and walk it and talk it. So share us as much as you can about you and how you got to actually this drive and this passion and this commitment you have to leadership. So share as long ago as you want, but certainly how it went in Tunstall as well. So Fermín, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you. Thank you for taking me here. I feel so honored to be here. It's quite impressive to do this thing after all these years. I think we met almost 11 and a half years ago. Wow. Because my daughter is turning 12 and she was like 6 months when I went to England to do my first PLP. So 11 and a half years, Penny. Wow. Yeah, it's quite a long time. It's quite a long time. Yeah, and it was great because I didn't expect what I was going to find in this program. You know, it's like, okay, the company is going to run some leadership programs. I was leading the training department then, so okay, let's go there. I remember it was around Manchester, and I remember my 5 minutes in the front desk that I understand no word from the girls there. Because that accent, and I say, okay, I can't do this. I can't do this, but that was my first learning for the PLP. Yeah, it's not about what you think. It's more about what you want to do. So it was impressive to me. It was like, okay, there's a new way of doing things. Let's try to embrace this. And in fact, I made my pilot there in England in English. Hopefully, if there's some new Spanish trainer, they can do their pilot in Spanish now. Uh, and I deliver like, I don't remember, it was like 15, 16 programs here in Spain. It was like quite a long
Oh, yeah.
year. Yeah, they were long. They
Wow.
were a lot. And yeah, and it was fine because one of the first things I saw is like there's something, transversal in this culture, in this way of understanding leadership, because it works in Spain and in Spanish. There were some tricky things with the language. Is one of my Tasha says that is my legacy when I misunderstand, I mix the words and these kind of things. But I think that all the concepts are beyond the language and beyond culture and beyond, I think, beyond everything. So it works really, really good in Spanish. So it was one of the things that hit me. I'm very moved by how much this program resonates. So I keep working there in Tunstall. I moved. I was, I was quite happy because I get promoted, and I think that the living leader has something to see with this. I've been promoted, and it was fine. And when things start to go fine, you tend to forget to be grateful. No, you say that, and you're still wanting more. Like I deserve all these things, and life plays too. Life do its things, and then something happened that shook my life. That's my sister passed away, and this is like, okay, Fermín, what are you doing with your life? What are you trying to I don't know how to say that, no, to pretend who you are. So then like 5 years after I met the living leader, it resonates again. It's like, and I have to thank you and the program, that seed that was on me, start to resonate in me. And I remember that I look for my my book of gratitude that I was writing. I only wrote 5 things a day, not 50. Sorry, Penny. I only write five things a day in a really nice book that the leader then in Tunstall, the HR leader that was named Caroline. You may remember him, Caroline Reed. And I found that book. And in that time of darkness, I start, okay, there's a lot of things that I have to be grateful for, there's a lot of small things that I can hold to and be back to this happiness I have, no? And after this, I go back to attend your webinars or to read these little leader materials. I was keep in touch with my colleagues of the PLP and with Tash and this, and it was like something good will come this way. It's like, because this is not just about working. You know how it works. It's like the way you are and the way you focus with your life. No, you cannot force anyone to be happy, or you cannot force anyone to be positive, but you can tell people that positive thinking is there, and maybe it helps, and maybe it helps. And I'm so happy to be back. It was so challenging to do that pilot with my angels of Thames Water. I still remember my first minute there when all of them get into the room, so senior woman, they were really, they know very well each other, and I was the Spanish guy. They're like, okay, please listen to me. But it was really amazing. It was really amazing. I think it was the most impactant program I did. It was magic there. It was, and I feel like, okay, Fermín, this is not about you again. This is about them. This is about why they need, or what they can do, and it was perfect. So I was so happy. I still in contact with them, and I hope they made a promise to make a kind of meeting here in Barcelona. So it will be great if they come and we have a kind of alumni meeting. That would be great. That would
I
be
mean,
great.
that would be amazing if they could do that. It is interesting because they were a group of EAs. Some of them had been working in the company for a long time. I mean, a really long time, sort of 14 plus years, some of them. And they didn't understand how important it was. They weren't just EAs for their individual director, that they could create a team amongst themselves. And after they'd been on the program with you, they have become a team.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how they've changed. I mean, I've got to be honest, it absolutely blew my socks off today. This is the first client, the very first client in all the 32 years since I've been doing this, where they've had an EA who they've been prepared to give the time of 10 days to learn how to become a trainer of the program. And of course, she's just done her first 2 days. The impact it's had on her is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Because as you know, when she first came on the program, she was very, very low in confidence. And I mean, incredible. And where she is now, having just delivered, the people, all of them will have been more senior to her. So she will have just delivered the program to people and is absolutely flying. And okay, she's done it, but my God, you were a powerful catalyst. And that feeling that it must give you, know that you've been a catalyst to help her step into more of her potential, is really special.
Yeah, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful of being part of that. I remember, I hope she doesn't mind I tell this, but I remember that on day 3, when we were talking about how things were last 2 weeks, she said, "I'm on my way." And that was like, wow. No, you don't need to tell anything else. It's like, I'm on my way. So I go like, wow. No, I have bumps when I remember that thing. It was great. Yeah, it was great. It was great. But I think it's one of the effects of this program. It's more when we talk about responsibility and we tell people this is about you. You choose to do it or not to do it. And when people embrace it and and they choose to do it, it's like you can sometimes hear the click, the switch, like I'm changing, and you can hear that. And it's amazing how that, I don't know to say, but it's like that simple concept is like, this is about you. This is not about magic formula, something like, this is how this has to work, and you have to work on yourself before. You cannot dream of being a leader like in the films. It's like this is real life, and you have to lead yourself first.
Yeah, I have to say, we've had a message come up on here, which is lovely. When we were talking about the trip in Barcelona, Kate saying yay, and then saying still on for the meeting in Barcelona. So, Kate, I want to know if I'm invited as well. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. That would be great. That would be great.
Oh, I think it's so lovely. And I'm sure, absolutely sure, that they will make it work somehow. Of that, I'm absolutely convinced, because they still talk about you. They still, very much touch. It's lovely. Let me just go back a bit. Let me ask you, you did this, you say we met about 11 and a half years ago. And I don't know what your feeling was about when you were first coming over, when Paul said we're doing a program, whether you thought, oh, that's exciting, or thought, oh, God, another leadership program. Doesn't matter what you thought, because you took a lot away from it, okay, and then became a trainer. But you had at the time a very young daughter. Because you did the program, do you think, in fact, just tell me how you've brought her up as a result of having been on the program?
Yeah, it's been it's funny because my daughter, when I start talking in this leadership language, she called that my eyebrow face, because don't put your eyebrow face, she said, because I asked, like, if you know, I say, I know, it's like, I know, no? But it changed my way of brought her up. And I'm a pedagogue, I study for teaching children. It's like I suppose I'm an expert on how to do these things, but it changed really. And in fact, I have to say that one of the people I learned the most now is Martina, is my daughter. One day she came, just to put an example, Penny. One day she come from school so angry and so upset because a classmate that used to be a good friend treated her very badly, and she was like, she was very frustrated. She was tried. She could barely hold her anger back. It's like, and I try to calm her, the way, and I make her see that there are a lot of good things that she has, and she looked at me very serious, and said, "Dad, I know very well that I have many things to be grateful for. I know what you're trying to do. It's like I know perfectly what you're trying to do. I know that you are going to talk about positive thinking and these kind of things, and I promise I will get there." She goes like, "But right now I need to complain, blame it on her, and cry because I really feel bad." And that was the best example that I have of situational leadership, Penny. It's like, okay, this is not your moment. This is not your moment. And after like half an hour, she came back and said, "Okay, let's talk about positive things we learn about this." And we go back. And I have to say that it was very funny when I heard her blaming and these kind of things. And I realized that she's not just a girl and start to be a woman. It's like these kind of things. But this way, the way that the living leader and the PLP helps me to brought my daughter is great. It's great because I used to be that kind of father that don't do that, and it's like and I shouldn't do that because I really love her, and I don't want her to make any mistake. It's like, okay, I know what is going to happen. I trying to protect you, but sometimes this protection doesn't allow her to grow. So it was a big impact. And
I mean, that's really interesting because if you think about it, if you get a client who's going to complain about something, if you know what the hell you're doing and you're behaving as a leader, rather than trying to make excuses and everything, you just listen and you listen and you listen and you ask questions, and it's called absorbing the pain. So what you do is you let them. And so what she was doing was saying, "Dad, I need the time just to let off steam. You can absorb the pain and listen to me, but I just need to let it all out and let it, because if not, you don't think well." Yeah. And so to enable her to think well, she's got to get rid of all that shit to start with. I'm feeling like shit. I'm blaming everybody else. I feel let down. I feel all of that. She needs to be able to get it out or she won't think well. But really great. So how old was she when she behaved like that?
No, this was like 6 months ago. It was in like 11 years, 10, 11 years. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. And do you think, because I do think it's interesting, do you think, I don't know enough about the Spanish culture, and you delivered it in Spain while you were with Tunstall Health. I know you're not at the moment, but you did when you're in Tunstall Health. How much impact do you think in that culture it had, not just on their work life, but on their home life as well?
Great. Big one. I live in Spain, and I deliver too in Peru in Spanish. And it's great to have two sides because it's the same language, but we are not the same culture at last. We are quite far. A friend of mine says that we are more than ocean away. There are some and the impact is great because this culture, Spanish, and I think Latin culture are more, how to call that? They are more about feelings. They are more. They feel like more emotional, and when you when they realize that emotions are important but are not the only thing, it's like, okay, this is not about me, or maybe this is not about this guy. It's more about the assumptions I had about this, or my first idea I have, this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy that I love, to talk about, and the impact is great, because we are. When I get to Spain to deliver this program, I was a bit worried about how people will behave with these emotional themes we talk about, and I realized that people really want to talk about it. We have the same problems all around the world. We have all around the world have the same way to solve problems, in a good and in a bad way. It's like, this is going to work, and I think that most of the Spanish, even in Brazil, when I went last month, and I'm going back on Sunday, I'm going back on for day 3, and it's great because every culture approach to the concept in a different way, Penny, but they get the same conclusions. It's great to see that. It's like, wow, it's.
Did you wonder if it would be any different in Brazil to Spain?
I thought it was going to be quite different. And it was great to see, because the programs were delivered in 2 different cities. In a big one, in BH, Belo Horizonte, is 4 million people, is quite big, and in a small one with, I think it's 20,000 people. It's so different environments, so different delegates, so different responsibilities, and it was so similar the way they get the program in Peru and in Brazil and even in Spain. I think we have to have. I don't know if there are some Spanish there watching, or some Peruvians or Brazilians, but there's a big risk here with the introductions, because we talk more. That's a fact, that's a fact. And at the beginning, people, it's like they don't want to talk about each other, but once they feel comfortable, it's quite difficult to say, okay, enough. Yeah. But the environment they create is great, because I think even though we are so social and we talk a lot one to each other, we don't get to know our colleagues. It's like there's kind of a social relation, but it's not a deep one. It's like, I've been working with this guy for 10 years. I have been having beers with him. I don't know, I can play paddle even with him, but we never have this kind of conversation. I didn't know you were struggling by this, or didn't know your father this thing, or your family, or your daughter. It's like, and this happens in 10 minutes in our program. So I think that programs there or here are more emotional, but it helps the group.
Okay. So I do find it so fascinating, more than fascinating. I find it really scary. What you're saying is typical of when I was running programs. I would nearly always find that people said, "My God, I've worked with you for the last 5-10 years. I didn't know you." And suddenly you find that some of them have got challenges that they actually have in common, and they could actually help each other if they only knew. And it gives you such an insight into the individual. If you've got to make a decision and you've got somebody who's fighting the decision, and you feel they're just being a bloody nuisance, and if you know them, you realize, the reason for this is because they've got this going on in their home life. They've now got a set of beliefs that means it's very hard for them to move past it.
Yeah.
If you don't know them, how can you do that? And I say this, I now say it almost on every webinar I go on. The thing that people, I think, really need to remember is that if you want to build a really great team, the one thing more than anything else that you have to have before you're going to get a team is trust. Without trust, you might have a group of people who work okay together, but you won't have a team. And if you want to have a team, that's the absolute fundamental key thing, trust. If you don't know the people, how the hell are you going to build trust?
Yeah.
You don't know them. If all you know is what goes on in their work life, but you know nothing about them as a human being, how the hell are you going to build trust? And I don't know about you, Fermín, because you're now working with us in a different, very big global company. And it's not an industry that I really know very much about at all. But I'm really curious to know, with your experience so far, are you finding a similar thing that at the moment where you've got people coming through, there is very little trust at that level?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Very, very. It's, you know what is quite curious is when we talk about something as in beginning simple as when we told people is wearing a mask when they go work when they go to work, and they really get like so surprised with that, and they go like, yeah, I've been wearing a mask for years. And it's like if they have discovered, I don't know, something incredible. And it's like that simply, okay, I realize now that I've been wearing a mask for 10 years working here because I thought that mask will allow me to keep my job or to be promoted or something like. And it's like this is not the way. This is not the way it works. It's like I don't need to wear this mark. I don't need. I don't know my colleague. I don't trust them at all. No? And one of the things that I like too of delivering, I think is the same maybe in English, but this program lasts in the time. It's like I have I'm still in touch with delegates from 10, 11 years ago. That's amazing. Last week, one of them, it was so funny because he wrote me, and we have seen each other in years, Penny, in years. But he wrote me and say like, I remember that X and Y theory you talked about 10 years ago from some guys whose name I don't remember. It's like this kind of things. But he was doing a performance review of a member of his team that everyone used to complain about, and just listening, and he discovered there was a reason for that complaining. They were all the team were like the last 2 years complaining about the way he works, but none of them asked this guy, what is happening with you? What kind of things do you need? Why is this happening? And I was like, so I like a lot when he wrote me and say, I use the theories of that guy that I don't remember the name, and I just listen, and by listening I understand what was happening, and I trust this guy and say, come on, let's do it again, let's do it in other way, or let's, it's like it's 11 years ago I delivered that program. 11 years ago. And
I
I go
think
like,
it's I think it's absolutely amazing. And I think part of the challenge is that when we go into, and it doesn't have to be a new role, it could be a team that you're working with, whatever. So much of the time, what we attempt to do is we try to project what we think that individual wants us to be. And that's a set of assumptions. They may not want it at all. But we make some sort of judgment. I think they need me to have all the answers. I think they need me to know this. I think they need me to do what I'm told and not give them, whatever it is. And it may not be accurate, but we make that set of assumptions and then try to live by it. And that's what will happen if we don't know. I have to tell you, we're getting a few messages coming up here. we got from Lindsay saying, I love you both. I think maybe I should support Fermin in Brazil. He needs an EA.
yeah.
And now you got Kate saying 100% that.
We can make the meeting in Brazil. We can make the meeting there. Yeah.
I think that's rather a long way. I think probably Barcelona is a little bit closer, a little bit
Yeah,
easier.
it's easier. It's easier.
It is.
It's easier.
It is interesting. I was thinking about when you were talking earlier. It's so easy to do this and blame the circumstances outside of us as to why we can't do something particularly well. And I still remember, this is going back, God, years and years and years, the amazing Leszek Marcinovich, who I used to work with, and I think he's a very special guy. And I remember his son had gone to university, and he was at university. I can't remember what the subject was. And he said how he was really struggling to do well in this particular subject, because he said the teacher wasn't very good. He wasn't inspirational. He didn't give good feedback on their work. You know, there's a whole list of things. He said, and I know I'm not going to do well. Now, that's quite an interesting one, because Leszek was very strong back. He said, hang on a minute, let's assume for the moment the subject's maths. I can't remember what it was. He said, who's taking responsibility for you getting good results in maths? And he went, well, I am. So he said, well, what's the teacher got to do with it then? If you knew you could take 100% responsibility for doing well in maths at university, what do you now need to do differently? But I thought that was so interesting, because I think most young people would say it's because I've got a teacher who doesn't get it through and doesn't. Leszek just wouldn't even hear it. He said, no, who's responsible for doing well in maths? You. Well, find another way. I thought it's so interesting, but we don't typically think like that. We don't.
Agree. Yeah. I think it's easier. It's funny because when we talk about behaviors and these kind of things and beliefs, I think that the groups feel more comfortable always with beliefs than with behaviors, you know, because beliefs are up there. It's like they are not close to me. It's people say that, or people think that, and when we go back and we go down to the mud and say, and what behaviors are behind this? But how do you behave to allow this? No, they go like, no, it's not me. It's like yeah, who is behaving? Who is assuming that this thing is going to happen? You know, it's like that helps me a lot since I get in contact with the living leader. In fact, this last time in Brazil, I was really struggling with my Portuguese because it's easy when you talk with your teacher, but once you are in real Portuguese life, it's like I was like, I was on the plane thinking I'm not able, you know how this works, you know how this I'm not able, nobody's going to understand me, I'm going to mix some words, I'm going to be ridiculous, and then I stop and say, come on, let's try it, and it was fine. I was able to talk with everyone and to be understand and to help these people to facilitate their programs. I'm not as fluent as I would like to be. Of course, that's nice, but maybe it's enough. It's like maybe it's enough.
I mean, I really would like at this point, because most people who are hearing this won't understand the challenge. And I think what you achieved is nothing short of a bloody miracle. I'll share with everybody that we have the program translated into 5 languages. And then we were told that maybe we might need to have it translated for this particular client into the 6th language. But we didn't think there was an urgency about it, because there were people being trained up in the UK, people being trained up, or we were training over there, but being trained in English, because we don't have any Portuguese speakers. So they were being trained in English, and they were going to be delivering their pilot programs, having been through this pretty intense learning. They were going to deliver their pilot programs in English, but then they would be able to go and deliver it in Portuguese across the company. And then at the last minute, they said, no, we need to have the pilots being delivered in Portuguese. And it was, we haven't got any trainers who speak Portuguese. And we can't give them a license until we know that they can run it at the highest standard. So Fermín gets a panic phone call. And did you have any Portuguese at all at that point?
No, just a few words, just a few words, and no, just to take a taxi or take the bus. No.
So Fermín said, "Okay, I'll go on an intense intense learning to be able to speak Portuguese. And I think you were absolutely flat out for what, 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah, 4 months. 4 months.
Absolutely flat out learning Portuguese so that you could go and observe the pilot programs to see whether they'd really got the message and whether they were able to deliver it. That, to me, is a level of commitment that exceeds anything I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I'd be fascinated to know how you found it and how the hell you managed to be able to not just learn a language well enough to, as you put it, speak to your teacher, but to be able to go and support them and help them deliver the program to them. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah,
Fermín.
that was quite. It was quite funny in the beginning because I started making, as you said, an intensive Portuguese course, and I found a teacher that was living in the same province that all the programs were going to take place, because I was looking to the accent and to the main words, and it was quite funny because in the beginning, as I tried to speak the most just to learn, I I think it's one of my of my how you call that, my brand or my personal brand. I start to mix some words, so I start telling people in Portuguese. Was trying to say I was bald, but what I saying is that I was naked. No, so it was it have you have to see their faces like what 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 are you going to do here? But it was great because they were so kind. They were so kind to me because they were so helpful when I get struggle with the language, and but all was fine. It was enough just to follow. And as I one of the good things of the program is that as I expected what they were going to talk about, and I was reading. I translate all the book before, just to all the key things, just to understand the words they were going to use, and it was great, but it was quite challenging. And what I discovered is that after an hour and a half listening the PLP in Portuguese, I was thinking that I was understanding everything. I was thinking in Portuguese leadership language. It's like, wow, what is happening here? Maybe if we ask them about my Portuguese level, they have another another opinion, Penny. But it was great enough, and it was like this kind of question again. No, it's like, if I know that I can learn a language in 4 or 5 months, what will I do? What will I do? What I'm going to do tomorrow? So I look for this teacher. I sign up in Duolingo. I'm ping like 2 hours a day, and I try to watch all the Portuguese films and series that I find, and yeah, and it helps, and in fact, I think I'm going to keep on having my Portuguese classes because I like the language. I'm enjoying a lot just to speak in Portuguese, even though it's quite difficult to pronounce because they change they've got like 3 or 4 kinds of r. So I don't know when goes what sound. But it was great. And what I felt is like, when you really want to be understood, or when you really want to communicate, you do all is possible to be understood or to communicate. You know, there was funny because one of the day I was quite tired. It was hard to me to get the words, and for putting a bit difficult, Portuguese are quite close to Catalan that I speak too. So I start to use words in Catalan in Brazil. It's like, what is this guy talking in? And it was so funny because we have a conversation mixing Portuguese and English, you know, and it was fine, Penny. When I didn't find a word in Portuguese and I say in English, and the same with one of the facilitators, and it was fine. There was no problem. We could have choose this to okay. It's impossible to understand one each other, and that was not the thing we did. It's like, let's put all that we know. Let's try to make it together, and it was fine. and it was fine. And I have to say that it sounds more musical in Portuguese. In Portuguese, yeah, the language is quite soft. It's like it sounds nice. The all the concepts are like more. I don't know if this is the word, but poetical. It's like how it sounds. So it's great. It's great. It's great. Yeah.
So let's just come back to, again, that was a different culture. Was there any difference in the way they reacted to the way English people react, Spanish people? Or do you think that genuinely this is a program, it almost doesn't matter what your culture is?
It doesn't matter, Penny. I think is the main thing I learned in this program. It's, as I told before, the approaching is quite different. It's quite different how we receive all these inputs. But the way we get to the final is the same in Spain, in Peru, in Brazil, in England. It's great, and it's just a kind of trust. There's a moment when you feel that the team is built. In the program, when they trust each other, is like we are on our way. It's like fine, and the final is the same. Is exactly the same. How impact they have the same impacts, they have the same feelings, the same emotions. They come from some other ways. I feel that maybe in England is like instant emotion. They go talking, but you keep like quiet, and when there's a break in the wall, it's like boom, everything goes out. And maybe in America and in Spain, it's like like you can feel how the flute is growing. It's more, it's slowly, but the level is the same at the end. The level is the same at the end. It was amazing to see how all the concepts work the same in very different countries, in very different profiles of people, because they have nothing to see one to the other. One were people that work really outside, in quite hard conditions. They were also people that work in an office, and they were talking to old people or to young people. It's the same. You feel that we all need some. I think that we all need to be listened. Penny. We all need someone to say, "Come on, I'm here to listen." I don't know what can I offer you. I don't know, but I can listen, and maybe just what you need, and maybe just what you need. And it was great how people share and how people understand that, as you say before, you have to build trust, and you have to build it through listening. There's no other way. There's no other way. So I don't feel any difference in how the program ends in any of the countries. Yeah, it was quite amazing to see. No, yeah.
Yeah. You said earlier that person contacted you, somebody you're still in touch with. He said he can't remember who it is, but sort of XY is what he remembers.
Yeah.
What do you think, in your experience of the programs you've run, what do you think are the bits that people hold on to more than anything from the program? Are there any bits of it? Because there's so many different learnings in it. Are there any bits that you think those are the bits that they almost never forget? Those are the bits that resonate?
I think there are. I will say that the way they communicate. I think the way they communicate, and it's quite funny when you explain or talk to the group about how many ways of shutting people up are. It's like, and they go like, wow, I've been 20 years, my last 20 years, I've been shutting up everyone around me, thinking that it was the right way. And And I think that the great impact is appreciation. It's appreciation. It's appreciation. I used to say that the first time I made this PLP, I called one of my closest friends. We were 40 years together. You know, I born the 6th of July, he born the 8th of July, and we were together all life, all our lives. And when I call him, say, okay, thank you very much for all these things, or for how you were close to me this time, and these kind of things, there was a silent penny. And then he asked, are you dying? Sorry, are you dying? There's something with your health? I said, no, you just I just want to say thank you. No, and I realized that in 40 years I didn't say anything to him. And when people start to appreciate their family, their relative, just not just at work, it's like they see the big impact of this. They see the big impact of this. So they feel that they have the power to change the way of communicating. That I think is key for this. They know that listening is not just being around while someone is speaking or making noise, and they feel that appreciation is like the third step. You know, I can say thank you because I have listened to you and I know what your effort has been or what you've been struggling through. You know, and it works in all the programs I have run. In all the programs, these three things were key.
We just had a wonderful comment come up from Lindsay while you're talking about this, saying, my mum asked me, obviously when she was phoning to appreciate her mum, my mum asked me if I was drunk or needed money.
It's great when you think about that. It's more it's great. It's terrible when you think about that. People that you live so close, and when you go and say, hey, thank you, they go like, something is happening here. You never say thank you. It's like, no, it can be true that after 20, 30, 40 years, having a friend, I don't know, with your mother, and they didn't expect you were going to say thank you, just because you need to say thank you. You didn't need anything else. You know, it's like it's truly appreciation. No?
It is, yeah. It's much more than thank you. It's being able to say thank you and let me tell you why I appreciate what you've done or what you've said, because that's about the individual. Thank you is normally about the job or the task. Taking it to the next stage about this is why I'm thanking you. It's amazing. You know, even if you're walking by in the workplace and you hear a colleague who's on the phone and you can tell the way they're talking to the client, you can tell that they care. You can tell that they're helping make that client feel good, and be able to pause and say, wow, the way you're talking to that client, I can tell that they will feel valued. I think it's really, really lovely the way you know, that's about the individual. It's not saying thank you, you're doing a good job. And that's even more. I want to ask you something else, because just very occasionally, not too often, thank God, but just occasionally when I go and meet a group for dinner, which I'm doing a bit week after next, I go and meet a group for dinner on the evening of day one. And I get asked very occasionally the question, if you had to say there's one thing that for you resonates more on the program than anything else, for you personally, what would it be? Now, I know how I'd answer that. If I ask you that question, Fermín, what would you say?
Just one thing that resonates me.
Yeah. That one thing that for you either had such a huge impact it changed your life, or you just say that for me just had such an impact.
Well, not easy to answer. Maybe I say that what it worked for me, that it's like positive thinking, but in the way I talk to myself. You know, when you tell people that this is not about, it's not only about how you talk the others, but it's important how you talk to you. The way you say, instead of saying you can't do that, you are not able, you're rubbish, these kind of things. When you start changing that in mind, say, come on, let's try. You know, it's I think was the it was the more impact thing to me, to feel that the first person that have to trust in me is me. It's like I don't need. Of course, I like that other people comes and say you are doing a great job for me. I like that, but I think it's about me. That is that if I know that, if I know that, of course I know, of course I know, of course I can. I think that was the more important to me. Yeah. And
Yeah,
for you?
yeah, and for me, yeah, God, when I got asked that question, I thought, bloody hell, this is a tricky one. But then I thought about it, and for me, strangely enough, it wasn't tricky, because for me there was so much I needed to learn. Recognize that when I first started delivering the program, the first thing that I recognized was actually I hadn't understood leadership before. I really hadn't. And so all the programs I was running, I was learning as much as anything and saying, wow, more and more am I understanding leadership, but sure as hell I've not been leading. So it was a real journey for me. But there's one thing that for me was literally transformational, was understanding give get. For me, that was the thing that was transformational, because being somebody who had absolutely no confidence at all, I couldn't have even attended one of my programs, let alone delivered it. I'd have been shaking, my hands would have been sweating, my voice would have been, you'd have heard it in my voice, I'd have been close to tears. I was really, really bad. And so recognizing and understanding finally that every time I had a confidence problem, I was worried about me. What would people think about me? Was I going to do a good job? Was I going to be impressive? Was I going to be able to get the work? It's all about me. And recognizing that I had no control over get, right? My reputation's not inside of me, and that's when I began to recognize. And then I began to observe it with other people in the workplace. You'd have some people who would have some sort of, I don't know, belief about themselves, and they would be more worried about, I can't ask, even though there's a very important question they know needs to be asked that's going to challenge people. Oh, I can't ask that question. What will people think if I challenge that? And so even in the workplace, I can't share what I think we need to be doing now because I'm more junior than everybody else. Whatever it is. And all the focus, when you think about it, although it's tough to hear it, is about you. And being able to let go of that, recognizing you have no control over get, your recognition, your confidence, everything about you, your reputation is not inside you. You can't do anything about it. What people think about you, that's their business. And that for me was transformational. And if sometimes I'm going to do a speaking engagement and I get a bit nervous, I can immediately ask myself the question, who am I thinking about right now? And the answer always is, am I going to do a good enough job? Are people going to say, wow, that's fantastic? And that's where, and I've got no control over it. All I can do is keep saying to myself, if I knew there's one or two things I can give, what might I choose to give? And that changed me. And Christine's put up, and this I know, saying, me too, me too. Christine, when she came on my first program, never to be forgotten, she was not far off being as bad as me as confidence. As you know, she is now, honest to God, one of my most experienced and best trainers, and she teaches other people how to be amazing. And for me, that was utterly transformational. Utterly transformational.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm still working in that give and get. It's a bit struggling. I still keeping an eye on the get. Like, no, for me it's not about get, it's about give. But yeah, it's true. It's true.
And that's just where you need to have the questions that you can ask yourself. You said the focus is how you choose to think. And that's very important for you. What do you think about? And that's where having the questions that you can ask, okay, if I knew there's one or two things I can give to this group, what would I choose to give? And letting go. If I knew that my Portuguese is absolutely good enough to understand and be able to support them, how would I approach it? And the minute you ask that question, you might think, well, I'll share with them up front that my Portuguese is weak, but I'm here to help you and I'm going to do that somehow. So it allows you, if you ask those questions, if I knew there's one or two things I can give or whatever, it enables you to come up with ideas or thoughts that you then think, can I do that? Yeah, I can. I mean, I can remember one big speaking engagement, big one, where it was I think I was a keynote at Birmingham, on the massive stage where I look sort of this big on the stage, huge stage. And, I look like a tiny little pea. And I remember, I can't remember what the hell it was titled. Let's call it, for the sake of this, The Simplicity of Leadership. I don't know what it was titled. And I could feel before I was going out, because this was a huge stage, about 1,000 people. And I was really, 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 really nervous, really nervous. And I can remember going out, asking myself the question before, if I knew there's one or two things I'd give, what I'd choose to give. And the first thing it inspired me to do was come out and say, well, this is the title of this talk, The Simplicity of Leadership. I think I need to rename it, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And you could hear the energy you could hear them go, you could hear that in the room. And suddenly what happens is you feel people wanting to support you to do an okay job. So you've built that relationship immediately. But I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't asked myself the question. And I thought, okay, that's how nervous I am. I'm going to tell them I'm nervous. And so, for me, give get was, if I had to choose one thing, it would be that. It would be that. So, Fermín, we've only got 4 minutes left. Oh God, it's gone so quickly. And I've just so enjoyed talking to you. So enjoyed talking to you. People are obviously, we've had more comments on this than anything. And it was so lovely. So lovely from Kate. Both of you and Christine are so inspirational. I mean, how lovely. Oh my God, Lisa, Lisa, how lovely that you're on here too. So we've got a lot of people on here today. I would like you, Fermín, to think, is there any one thing that you would like to share with people about something they might like to think about now and over the weekend that could have a positive impact on their life?
Yeah, I think that that many times when leadership is the excuse, all the emotional side is omitted. It's like we have a block because we don't feel it's the right moment, or we don't feel that we are waiting for a very scenario to come and allow us to do things, no? And I like make people thinking about what will happen if this will be the best possible scenario, just to do what you've been dreaming doing last year, last 10 years, just whatever. It's like how many time we are wasting waiting for the right time to come. It's like if I have started 10 years ago to do something, maybe it's done now. It's like what do you really need to do this thing that you are really wanting to do, and this is not about imposing a positive way of thinking. It's like supporting. It's like I'm really scared of these happiness gurus right now that say you have to be happy. Wait. You can impose, you can force it, but I think that we need to tell people there's another way of thinking, and it's up to you to choose it. So what will happen if this scenario you've been waiting for the last 4 years is right now happening? What will you do now if you knew that there is not going to be best days? Because we are wasting time thinking, no, next year it will be, and we don't know what is going to happen even tomorrow. There's an Uruguayan writer that I like a lot, Benedetti, Mario Benedetti, that says that there are yesterdays and tomorrows, but not todays. Okay, it's like you have one today, so let's use it.
Okay, so we need a question along the lines of, if I knew that there's one thing I've wanted to do and been putting off for years, what might I do today to take me closer towards completing that? So
Yeah, because
that's what you're recommending, I think. Fermín,
Mm.
I just want to thank you. It has been an absolute pleasure talking
My
to you
pleasure.
today. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming back into our lives and being an absolutely key part now of the Living Leader. You are inspirational, the impact that you have on so many people.
Thank you.
I really can't thank you enough. It's an absolute pleasure to have you as part of the team. We feel very, very lucky.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Good.
Adiós.